Hello and welcome to Bethlehem, Georgia, just a few miles outside of Athens, where the game will take place tomorrow. Ann Parker Coleman joining me, Jeff Jones, and Ann Parker. We are going to see a top 10 showdown tomorrow. Texas taking on Georgia. And when we made the trip out here today, our flight was full of burnt orange.
Yeah, a lot of burnt orange on the flight, a lot of fans, and a lot of students. I feel like I saw more UT students than I did even fans paying their own way. So you know what, students, shout out to you guys for making the trip. And you know what, missing that Friday class? It doesn't matter. You're good. These memories will last a lifetime. It won't.
We showed up to work on Friday. Maybe they're taking class via Zoom or something like that, working on their written assignments right now instead of out getting hydrated.
Yeah.
But we'll move on from that. The guys who we hope are hydrated with water tomorrow are, of course, the Longhorns playing on the field against Georgia. And Parker, is there a particular position group or player that you're going to keep a close eye on in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go 2 for 1 on who I want to be hydrated with water, Jeff. I'm going to go, I think that this will come down to whether or not the O-line can protect Arch Manning. I think it's going to come down to those two things. We know that Arch, if he's given time to make decisions and throw, he can make big plays. Where it gets tough is when he doesn't have time to think at all and he's straight up on the ground. That was a recipe for Georgia last year in beating Texas. They had 13 sacks in those 2 games. Quinn Ewers just had absolutely no time, so I think it's going to come down to that.
Yeah, and if I had to put my finger on a position group that I'm going to watch, I'm kind of going the exact opposite direction. You're talking about the guys who are protecting the Texas quarterback. I want to talk about the guys who are getting after the Georgia quarterback, particularly the edge rushers, Colin Simmons and Ethan Burke. They've really taken off this season, and especially recently. Colin had a kind of slow start to the year, but he has turned it on recently and managed to have multiple sacks in multiple games. If he can have that kind of impact again this week, I think that's going to be huge for Texas. Looking back to last year's 2 games that Texas played against Georgia, they gave up a combined 13 sacks. Of course, lost the turnover battle and the sack battle in both games. If they can win one or both of those battles tomorrow, I think that is going to be huge. And
yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I feel like if it wasn't for Arch Manning's slow start, we would have talked a little bit more about Colin Simmons. Really slow start from him, but you're right. I mean, recently he's picked it up. And I want to give a shout out to you, Jeff, because a couple weeks ago, you called a big game from Ethan Burke, and what did he have the next day? Big game. He's really turned it on recently.
Get yourself teammates like Ann Parker who give you shout outs, and get yourself friends like her as well. Arch Manning might have a friend who supports him like you support me, and Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. Ty actually beat Georgia, Ty and his team beat Georgia earlier this year, and so Arch called Ty earlier this week and basically said, what can you give me? What kind of information can you share with me to help? And so we heard from both quarterbacks and played that soundbite earlier in the week here on KVUE. And that's not the only crossover and helpful hand that's been reached out so far.
Yeah, this week made me realize just how small the college football world is. Billy Napier, ex-Florida coach, was at Georgia's practice earlier this week to help the Bulldogs prepare for Texas because, well, we saw what Billy Napier did to Texas, and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, it wasn't enough to save us. Let me not say that.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call.
It's
true.
A good call to cut that sentence short. Let's see if we can get some good calls on what's going to happen in this game tomorrow. Texas plays Georgia. They've lost to them 2 times in a row. Will they get a win on the 3rd time? Ann Parker, what's the score going to be? Who's going to win?
I'm going to go Texas. I feel like I'm the only one who's not pulling for Texas, but who thinks Texas can pull it out. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game. I'm going to go 24-21. Texas pulls it out.
Yeah, I got a surprise for you here, Ann Parker. I promise I did not intentionally
He's switching it up.
Earlier today, I told you off camera, I think I'm picking Georgia because I was leaning that way, but the more I thought about it, I think that bye week that Texas had is going to pay off big. We saw their injury report, no names on it. UT is as fresh as they've ever been right now, and this game is as big as they've had this season. I think Texas wins this one 20-17.
And I think Jeff will give me credit if they do win because I swayed you on that.
You know I'll do that.
Yeah.
Because you have a friend like I have.